Welcome to Chronicles of Humanity Stories. Neanderthals. Who they were and how they lived.
Imagine a world shrouded in ice, a time hundreds of thousands of years ago. Across the vast frozen landscapes of Europe and Asia, a remarkable group of ancient humans thrived. They weren't quite us, but they were incredibly close. These were the Neanderthals, our long-lost cousins. Picture them, shorter and stockier than we are, with powerful, muscular bodies built for the cold. They had pronounced brow ridges, high cheekbones, and large, wide noses, a perfect adaptation for warming the frigid air of the Ice Age with every breath. For over 300,000 years, this was their world, and they were its masters. Neanderthals weren't the brutish, dim-witted cavemen of old cartoons. They were intelligent, resourceful survivors. They lived in small, tight-knit family groups, probably of around 15 to 25 individuals. Together, they faced the immense challenges of a world filled with giant cave bears, woolly mammoths, and saber-toothed cats. How did they survive? They were exceptional hunters and craftsmen. Their toolkit, known to archaeologists as the Mousterian industry, was sophisticated and versatile. From a core piece of flint, they would skillfully strike off sharp flakes to create a variety of tools. Sharp-pointed spears for hunting, hand axes for butchering meat and processing wood, and scrapers for preparing animal hides for clothing and shelter. Hunting was a team sport, and it was dangerous. Imagine a group of Neanderthals armed with wooden spears tipped with stone points, coordinating an attack on a massive steppe bison or a woolly mammoth. This required planning, communication, and immense courage. A successful hunt meant survival meat for sustenance, fat for energy, bones for tools, and thick hides for warmth against the relentless cold. But life wasn't just a constant struggle for survival. When the hunt was over and the day drew to a close, they would return to the relative safety of a cave or a rock shelter. Here, around the glow of a crackling fire, the real heart of Neanderthal life would beat. The fire was more than just warmth. It was a social hub. It cooked their food, kept predators at bay, and provided a focal point for the community. Around this fire, we can imagine them sharing food, perhaps grunting and gesturing to recount the day's hunt. Elders would pass down crucial knowledge to the young how to track an animal, which plants were safe to eat, and how to knap flint into a perfect tool. This was a society with culture and social bonds, and we know they cared for each other deeply. The fossil record tells a powerful story of compassion. We found skeletons of Neanderthals who lived for years with severe injuries or disabilities. One famous example is the Old Man of Shanidar, an individual from a cave in modern-day Iraq. He was partially blind, had a withered arm, and walked with a limp. He couldn't have hunted or fully cared for himself, yet he lived to a ripe old age for his time. His survival was only possible because his group protected and provided for him. This wasn't survival of the fittest in a brutal sense. It was survival of the most cooperative. Their world also had a spiritual dimension. Neanderthals were among the first hominins to systematically bury their dead. In places like La Chapelle-aux-Saints in France, individuals were found carefully placed in shallow graves. Sometimes they were buried with offerings, like animal bones or stone tools. In Shanadar Cave, one grave even contained clumps of pollen from various flowers, suggesting the body may have been laid on a bed of blossoms. These acts imply a complex understanding of life and death, a sense of grief, and perhaps even a belief in an afterlife. They also had a sense of beauty and identity. Archaeologists have discovered eagle talons that were likely worn as pendants, shells coated with mineral pigments like ochre, and even lumps of pigment that could have been used as body paint or crayons. This wasn't for survival. This was for expression. It was art, a way of communicating who they were as individuals and as a group. Then, about 60,000 years ago, a new chapter began. A different kind of human, our direct ancestors Homo sapiens started migrating out of Africa. As they moved into Europe and Asia, they came face to face with the Neanderthals, who had lived there for millennia. What was this encounter like? For a long time, we thought it was a story of conflict and replacement, with our clever ancestors outcompeting and wiping out their more primitive cousins. But the latest genetic evidence tells a much more intimate and complex story. We didn't just meet them, we mingled with them. That's right, we interbred. Today, most people of non-African descent carry between 1 to 4% Neanderthal DNA in their genomes. This genetic legacy is not just a quirky fact, it has real effects. Some of those genes are linked to our immune system, helping our ancestors fight off new diseases they encountered in Europe. Others are related to skin pigmentation and our body's ability to handle cold and high altitudes. In a very real way, the Neanderthals gave us genetic tools that helped us adapt and survive. So, if we interbred, why did they disappear? The answer is likely a combination of factors. The climate was becoming increasingly unstable, with rapid and dramatic shifts that would have stressed their food sources. At the same time, Homo sapiens populations were growing. Our ancestors may have had slightly more advanced projectile weapons, like spear throwers, larger social networks, and perhaps more complex symbolic language, giving them a competitive edge. It probably wasn't a single event, but a slow process of attrition over thousands of years. As Homo sapiens groups expanded, Neanderthal populations became smaller and more isolated, until finally, around 40,000 years ago, they vanished from the fossil record. But did they truly vanish? In one sense, yes. Their unique culture, their way of life, is gone forever. But in another, more profound sense, they live on. They live on in the small percentage of DNA that they gifted to us, a hidden part of our own identity. They live on in the questions they force us to ask about what it means to be human. The story of the Neanderthals is not a simple tale of extinction. It's a story of resilience, of intelligence, of compassion, and of connection. They were not a failed experiment in evolution. They were a successful and long-lived branch of the human family tree. They remind us that our own existence is the result of a long, winding journey, a story of encounters and interactions with other kinds of humans who once shared this planet with us. So the next time you think about our ancient past, remember the Neanderthals. Remember the hunters tracking mammoths across the ice, the families gathered around a fire in a cave, and the ancient relatives whose legacy is woven into the very fabric of who we are today. They are a vital part of our story. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into our human story, and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.